Okay. Metafictional rebirth ritual. What the fuck did I just read? And this, after this SCP, we're in the halfway point. All right. Metafictional rebirth ritual. Jade, are you gone now? Are you taking your rest? Oh, this looks like a longer one. Oh, this is our first Euclid. Our first Euclid, and the highest rated one so far from the ones we read. As there is no way of containing SCP-1304 itself, procedures must focus on finding, tracking, and observing all instances of -1. It's another one that has multiple parts of an SCP. God damn. Agents embedded in the editorial departments of major publishers have been briefed on the specifics of SCP-1304 and will suppress or alter any manuscripts containing it, or which may lead to a sequel containing it. Keywords describing portions of SCP-1304 have been added to routine search protocols. In the event of publication of a work containing SCP-1304, efforts must shift immediately to finding the associated -1 instance. 6 instances of -1 are in custody at Site 17. The Foundation is currently tracking 17 instances of -1. No action may be taken against any instances of -1 without prior approval from head researcher Applebaum. So, one word in English, one word in German. Applebaum. Whoa, what a name. SCP-1304 is a method of a ritual murder which allows for the translation of a fictional character into reality. That is... The idea behind it is scary because there's probably a whole bunch of demented fucks that would use this to make a bunch of fictional people that they want to hang out with or date real. Like, I can imagine there's a bunch of people who are super lonely and desperate, either one or both, that will be like, if I kill one person, I can be together with this person finally. Here's the thing, of course. The fictional person that you make coming alive, unless this thing influences their behavior towards you, might not even like you. So, but I can still imagine there's got to be a couple people that were like, I really want to be together with that person. And all I gotta do is just this one time. You know what I mean? There's gonna be a bunch of people that think that way. And that's scary. That's scary that there will be people that will be like that. Like, would you kill somebody so you have the love of your life become reality? It's like, some people would say yes, which is scary. Listen. There's one fictional girl that, like, if I could make her real, that would be awesome. Or there's also one dream girl that I wish to make real. Not fictional, just like as a dream girl I have in my head that I wish I could meet in this world. But I could never do something horrendous as murder just to make them real for me. I'd rather just make them let them be what's the word, unapproachable? Out of reach. I'd rather them be out of reach forever than me sinking that low to make them real. The ritual, which has no direct basis in any known culture, has a lengthy list of requirements which must be performed in a particular order under specific circumstances. The ritual requires, among other things, a knife made of carved obsidian. Yeah, we have an obsidian knife in this. We have a couple of obsidian knives actually, but we have one specific one in the SCP Foundation. Mutilation and flailing of specific body parts in a specific order, and incantation of a particular set of syllables. The complete list can be found in document SCP-1304-RX. Level 4 clearance is required. God, it's not even like fast, you know. You have to like really drag out the whole ritual. That's even worse. It's not like it's not like you just put them. It's not just like you just have them in a specific place and just done. No, you gotta cut off some pieces and if the ritual is performed within a fictional narrative which is then printed by a major publishing house, no later than 1 week after the narrative's official release date, a child will be born whose life will mirror as closely as possible that of the character killed in the ritual. What? All narratives to date have been published by established publishing companies with initial print runs of the least copies. It's unknown which attributes of any of the publishing company affected the outcome of the ritual. To date, no self-published narratives published online, serialized narratives, or other such alternative forms of publication have been found containing SCP-1304. The child is an instance of -1. The -1 instances are seemingly unaware of the circumstances of their creation. Those who have found or been told about the associated narrative have regarded it as a curious coincidence. For further information on how the details of the narrative character's life are translated into reality, see addendum SCP-1304-MF below. Okay, so they are a child and not actually like the fictional person completely, like just puffing into a reality. Okay, so that's different than what I expected. Still messed up though. Any and all attempts to alter the life of -1 instance in a way explicitly contradicting the events of the narrative have failed completely. This was extensively proven in the Foundation's experiment on SCP-1-27, who is the real-world equivalent of the character Lawrence Hopkirk from the novel In Our Lives by June Marshall. I have not read that. -1-27 was chosen because his life, as described in the book, was largely unremarkable and followed a strict routine, making him an ideal experimental subject. For example, in the narrative, Hopkirk's pet dog was struck and killed by a car on his 7th birthday. On the corresponding date, Foundation agents arranged a cordon on all streets within a 3-kilometer radius of -1-27's home and temporarily rendered inoperable all vehicles within a 0.5-kilometer radius. Okay, so they want to prevent that from happening, but however, despite these precautions, the presence of more than 100 agents, a drunk driver was able to slip through the Foundation cordon, evade pursuit, and strike -1-27's dog in the manner described. Even something as minor as -1-27's daily route to work, which was carefully described in the novel, was immutable, despite extensive efforts. A combination of mechanical failures, human errors, and simple coincidence prevented any changes. So whatever is written down will happen to that character. I see. The one deviation in the life of -1 instances from the narrative equivalent in the absence of SCP-1304 itself. All known instances of -1 have survived past the point at which they would be killed in the SCP-1304 ritual. After this point, direct intervention in the real life of -1 instances is possible. Action may or may not be taken against an instance based on the recommendation of head researcher Applebaum and/or the O5 Council. In all cases, observation of instances is continued after the death of the narrative equivalents. There are 76 known published narratives containing SCP-1304 with an equal number of associated -1 instances. Of these, 51 are deceased, 6 are in custody at Site-17, 17 are presently being tracked by the Foundation, and the whereabouts of the remaining 2 are unknown. The Foundation has attempted to deliberately create instances of -1 by creating and publishing narratives containing SCP-1304 through established publishers and Foundation fronts. No attempts to date have succeeded. No further experiments along this line are planned. It is currently theorized that the author must have created the ritual for the book independently, or have been inspired by reading another book containing the ritual whose author was also independently inspired. Please contact head researcher Applebaum for further information regarding these attempts or to review the manuscripts published. And now we have a bunch of things we can open up here, so let's start. Notes on -1 instances. Events and circumstances in the lives of instances of -1 will resemble those of their fictional counterparts as closely as possible, with allowance made for circumstances which are impossible under current real-world conditions. If the character was born in real-world location, so will -1 be. If the location was fictional, -1 will be born in a location as similar as possible. For example, in the book Love by Savannah K. Fay, the character was born in the fictional city of Largis, Illinois. -1-9 was born in the town of Illinois, which has a similar population, history, and contained businesses and institutions analogs to those described in the book. In cases where the narrative takes place in a fantasy or science fiction world, or any world largely distinct from Earth, -1 will be born in a culture similar to that of their character's culture, and whose geography is similar to that of the character's birthplace. Other circumstances, such as economic or social condition of the character's family, will also be replicated closely. So, no matter what, it will somehow make those rules happen in our world. Interesting. Now my question is, what if you, for example, Harry Potter, if you make a character from Harry Potter real, can he actually use magic? Or does he just think he can use it? Like, as in, like, in his head, and from his perspective, he just sees, like, all the magic happening. From our perspective, he's just waving a wand around. This pattern will continue throughout the life of -1. If the character parents die when he was 4 years old, the parent of -1 will die at the same time. Fantasy or science fiction events, objects, and individuals will appear in an analog real world form. For example, the victim in Dragon Whale by Dawn Amanda Jr. had a pet dragon with whom she could communicate telepathically. The associated -1 instance had the pet horse with which she shared a strong emotional bond. I see, so that's in this case, yeah. It would try to, like, somehow replicate the things. So again, with Harry Potter, instead of a wand, does he just have a gun? Just shoot somebody. Experiment 96. I like this SCP though. I gotta say, I'm really intrigued by this. This is a cool idea. It's a cool idea of bringing the people. I mean, again, the murder part is very horrendous, but the idea of bringing a fictional character into our world and their story takes replays in our world, but it has to follow our world logic. It's very fascinating because, like, it makes you wonder, like, how certain stories would go if they weren't taking place in that specific place or, like, world. Percy Jackson, for example, how would that work? Him being able to, like, fucking breathe underwater for forever. Like, how would he do that? Does he just automatically always have something to, like? I guess he always has, like, a apparatus that will allow him to breathe underwater. It just spawns in his pockets, like, oh. It's a very cool idea, though. I like this. I like this SCP. In 2000, yeah, Asian Civet, embedded with the publisher, press discovered a narrative containing SCP-1304. As per protocol, she reported it to the head researcher Applebaum. It was decided that as a character killed would have minimal impact if reborn in the real world, and the circumstances of his birth would make him relatively easy to find. The Foundation would use the publication of this work to determine whether the number of readers has any effect on the outcome of the ritual. Well, here, the character was born in a real-world city, and the exact time of his birth was given in the narrative. Okay, the book was published with a small print run. Prior to the official release date, the Foundation seized and destroyed via incineration all copies of the book. So the footnote says, official cover story, Row 12, severe storms damage warehouse was used. 3 days after the official release date, the -1 instance later designated -1-63 was born with the described circumstances. It was concluded that the book publication, not the number of readers, is the decisive factor in the creation of a -1 instance. Current standard procedure is to alter the narrative prior to its publication or suppress it entirely. Partial character list. This is a long ass SCP, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. It's really cool. Below are listed several known instances of -1, along with the characters that they are based on. In a brief summary of relevant portions of the lives documented, 1304-P contains a complete list of known narrative. Level 3 clearance is required. -1-1, Ephraim Montrose. Dr. Ephraim Montrose from the comedic tragedy of Dr. Montrose, no author listed in 16. This is the earliest known narrative containing SCP-1304. It was a narrative ballad published as a broadside and was apparently intended to be a parody of Christopher Marlowe, the tragical history of the life and death of Dr. Faustus. The titular character summons a troop of demons to assist him in his alchemical research. These demons quickly become the focus of a cult, and Montrose is unwillingly sacrificed as a reward for his bringing them to the mortal world. Notes: the real Dr. Montrose became a medical doctor in London of some repute, who was suspected of witchcraft. He was forced to flee his home and committed suicide in 16. Researcher embedded in the Vatican discovered a copy of the original broadside in the archives, along with his note detailing the curious coincidence of the real Dr. Montrose. Suspected a potential link. A follow-up investigation revealed similar historical cases. See instances -1-2, 3, and 4, and led to its classification as an SCP object. Further investigation pinpointed the sacrificial ritual as the source of the anomalous effects. Instance -1-12, Warren James. Warren James from Grave Offenses by N.J. Dickinson in 1971. James is a serial killer in the town of Dearborn, Michigan, USA. Over the course of the novel, he murders 3 young women in the space of 2 months. To prevent further killings and condemn his soul to hell, his family member murder him via SCP-1304. However, the ritual results in James' spirit becoming a vengeful ghost and attacking his family for revenge. Okay. Notes: when the Foundation became aware of -1-12, efforts were immediately made to prevent his murders. As noted above, all efforts to alter events explicitly described in the narrative were futile. The 3 women were murdered, precisely as described in the novel. However, the Foundation was able to prevent the death of the 7 further individuals whom -1-12 attempted to kill in a similar manner. At the point in -1-12's life when his family committed the ritual in the narrative, they instead attempted to kill him via other means. The Foundation intervened and captured -1-12. He is currently imprisoned in Site 17. Must be weird though, because the family is probably still after him. -1-47. Oh god, how do you say that name? Oh my god. Oh, fucking hell. That name. AS. I'm just gonna call it AS because I cannot say that name at all. From Quantum Terror by Edward Lukasinski in 1984. Tterisky is a physicist born on the planet Staris 3 in the year 2123. He develops a quantum propulsion drive, which moves a ship through the quantum underverse to transport it across interstellar distance in the space of hours. Over the course of the novel, he is pursued and ultimately killed by a neo-satanic cult for defiling the promised land. Szczecinski was born in Wrocław, Poland. As the original author was Polish, the novel was originally published in Poland. There was no real world equivalent to the character birthplace. It is assumed Szczecinski was born here due to his cultural similarities. Additionally, the character's unusual surname was replaced with a normal name. He earns a degree in aerospace engineering and received several patents for a process that are expected to be utilized in the next generation of high-speed jet engines. At the point of his character's death, he accepted a managerial position at the BAE systems and has not produced any original research since. And now -1-68 XD from by in 2000 D is described as the 21st century Antichrist. From an early age, he shows signs of psychopathy, having a total lack of empathy and talent of emotional manipulation. Over the course of the book, he gains considerable political power and cultural influence. As a teenager, he becomes a charismatic preacher and hones his oratorial skills. On reaching adulthood, he is elected to the Senate. He eventually leaves government, having acquired a considerable following. This audience rapidly develops into a full-blown cult which worships him as a messianic figure, because Messiah, right? So messianic, is that how you say it? Political and cultural tension approach a breaking point. On the eve of the major speech to his followers, D is killed via SCP-1304 by a team of Special Forces operative. The novel ends on a cliffhanger hinting that D death may lead either to the end of hostilities or a major religious uprising. D was found 3 months after his birth. He is currently under close surveillance by Foundation operatives. Research into preventing the event of the narrative from occurring is of the highest priority. Yeah, I mean, you better. There's a lot of shit happening here. Notes from the head researcher Applebaum. Wow. I feel like I've been reading this one forever. I've been working with the SCP-1304 data for over a decade, and I'm convinced we're still missing something. For starters, it is statistically unlikely for even 2 books with the same ritual to appear when the authors have had no contact nor read each other's books. It's statistically impossible for 76 such books to be published, even across a space of 500 years. They can all be discovering the ritual independently, and yet only a handful of authors admit to having been inspired by another work. How do they know it? How is it being told to them? I'm not even sure that the authors themselves are important. I've interviewed every living author and there's no pattern. Some say it came to them in a dream. Some say they were inspired by a film or another story. Not necessarily a story containing SCP-1304 either. But most just shrug and say it came to them like all other ideas. We checked early drafts of the book. Sometimes the details were there from the very beginning. Sometimes they were added at the last minute. One author wrote a sequel which revealed that the character hadn't been killed after all. Yet the incidents kept on going. We've introduced authors to their creations a half dozen times, and the meetings have been entirely unremarkable. The characters we've seen so far have been cross section of humanity: male, female, scholars, idiots, heroes, villains. There's no common feature among them. They know nothing about their past lives and don't seem to care when told. Strike that. Some care, some don't. Some think we're lying, some think they're going mad. They show various reactions just as if you told a real person that their life was something out of a story. But again, there's nothing in common. The one trait they all share: after the fictional counterparts have died, they all seem to become incurious. They lose some spark, some necessary components. Their lives become grayer, their minds become duller. They lose the desire to grow. I wonder, are there reflections of their fictional counterparts and lose their shine when they have nothing to reflect? Or they're simply empty because they completed their purpose? Have they finished what they came here to do, and as such become puppets without their puppeteers? A lot of good questions, and a lot of interesting side bits. Experiment M01. Oh, thank God, it's not another page. On 2000, the Foundation attempted to recreate the SCP-1304 ritual in the real world. A routine review of D-Class records had revealed that D-10188 maternal uncle was also a member of the D-Class program designated D65990. As this is one of the requirements for a successful SCP-1304 ritual, and as other requirements could be obtained with minimal expense, head researcher Applebaum was given permission by O5 Command to attempt the ritual. All elements were provided and performed according to the most complete known form of the ritual, and D-10188 was expired at the expected time. No anomalous effects have been noted to the date. Damn, this was fun. This was a really good one. I was at first confused, like why the rituals were in the books itself, but then I realized basically these books had the ritual in it for some odd reason, and then the character became real afterwards. So like, it wasn't like I mean, yeah, like, because I felt like the ritual itself was the SCP, and then like you can just take whatever book you wanted. But that would not make any sense, because like, how do they choose a character from that book then to become real? No, a character in that book will die to such a ritual. And the weird thing is how many authors have written the ritual down. That makes more sense. So yeah, as I said, I was at first a bit confused, but then I understood what the whole premise behind it was.